And we have voluntary agreement from licensed auctioneers for a temporary moratorium, as I mentioned. And it also directs the Ohio Department of Natural Resources to bring us a framework for legislative change by November 30th. You see, when this all started, they set up a deadline. They thought this could be done within a year, and they worked with many interested parties to try to put this together. They were to come back by the end of the year. We now have told them, you got to work harder, you got to work faster, and come back by November 30th. And then when we have this framework, we then have to move the framework to the Legislative Service Commission to draft whatever we need to draft to present to the legislature, and enhance our authority, broaden our authority, and ground what we do in statute so we have the ability to do what needs to be done to protect God's creatures and to protect the public, and to make sure that we have a situation where Ohio can become a leader rather than a follower, as we have been for a couple hundred years in this area of being able to have proper restrictions. Let me be clear on this. We will seek statutory authority. Changes must be made in the law. You don't do it on the back of a napkin. You don't do it at the, just willy-nilly where it isn't grounded in law. We will do it appropriately. And fortunately, I want to thank my cabinet directors, my staff, in a period of 48 hours, going through the laws and being innovative and creative and using existing statutory authority on this short-term basis to make sure that we can accomplish our goals. I'd now like to turn the podium over to the Director Zody, our head of the Department of Natural Resources.
Thank you very much, Governor, and I'd like to also echo my thanks and appreciation for the cooperation that we had over in Zanesville with Sheriff Lutz. Not only was it a local effort, there's also officers from the Highway Patrol, officers from the Department of Natural Resources, our Division of Wildlife that responded, and there were also officers that responded from other counties that all came together to address what was a very tragic and very tense situation for several hours. As the Governor stated, he had charged the agencies, DNR, Ag, Health, with all coming together and taking an innovative look at these existing laws and what can we do to have some immediate short-term effects to address these problems while we continue to work on these long-term solutions. And as the course of our quick turnaround, we did find there are some powerful tools out there. There are some tools out there that are available to local entities, and we're going to now move forward and help them implement those tools. The Governor mentioned the humane societies and the health boards with respect to how can we help them investigate or gather information or bring any sort of necessary complaints or charges against facilities that might be out there that aren't up to par. We're going to be looking internally within our department and reviewing all of our permits. And Governor, I'll tell you, we didn't wait for you to sign the permit. We've started that process already. We're going to go through all of our permits and go back and take a look at which of these facilities need to be inspected, which of these facilities have we been lagging behind. We're getting on top of that right now. Director Zehringer is going to speak to the auction issue and some of the issues where the Department of Agriculture is going to be working with the USDA. And one point we just found out here in the last couple of hours, the U.S. Department of Agriculture and their folks in their APHIS division, they are also going to ramp up their inspections and re-inspections of the facilities that come under their permitting process. So they're going to be working with us as a team to try to get these facilities online and back and make sure that they're complying with what they should. We've had some great conversations already with the zoos, and I do want to acknowledge, Dale Schmitz and Tom Stoff from the Columbus Zoo are here, and Alan Saronin is hiding in the back of the room, but Alan was formerly with the Cleveland Zoo and trying to help us identify what are some places that we can take some of these animals that may be forfeited or turned over, and so that we can give those locals that option, because it's one of the things I think they've been a little hesitant about in going after these operators is, What do you do with the animal, once it is forfeited or turned over? The task force, speak very briefly to that. I'm very pleased again with having Dale and Alan, our two members of our task force, as well as Chip McConville, who's an assistant prosecutor for the Knox County Prosecutor's Office. They're here with us today, and as the governor said, we had our self-imposed deadline. Now we know we're going to work hard, we're going to work fast, but we're also going to work smart, because we have to make sure that whatever framework that we put forward and recommend to the governor and to the General Assembly is logical, it's reasonable, and it doesn't have unintended consequences. The last thing we want to do is propose a law or have a law implemented that could potentially result in another one of these situations happening. That's what we want to prevent from here on into the future. Governor, thank you very much, and thank you all for being here.